If you couldn't tell by the title of this video, we are talking about reading slumps. I've been in quite a heavy reading slump since reading Heated Rivalry. Since I did that readathon, I actually don't think I read like a little bit last night, and by a little bit I mean like 2 pages. We are basically hitting the mid-mark of April and I haven't read anything in April yet. So I wanted to talk about reading slumps because I came up with a few ideas that are going to hopefully help me get out of my reading slump and then hopefully inspire you if you're in a reading slump. I also just want to say that I think it's perfectly normal to fall into reading slumps. I find if I read, let's say, 2 books back to back, I usually need to take like a week off from reading. I know some people can read every day and I love that for them. I just know personally I cannot do that. I have a hard time pacing myself when it comes to reading, which is why I think I fall into these reading slumps, because it'll be like over a span of a weekend I will read like 16 hours and then I won't want to read for like a week. So anyways, let's just get on with this video. So the first tip I have is to not feel guilty about changing up your current read. So this is the exact predicament I'm in right now, where I started The Nightingale sometime in March. I don't remember the exact date, but I started The Nightingale. Been loving The Nightingale. There's nothing wrong with the writing of The Nightingale, but I've noticed that as time has gone on, I'm not as eager to read the book. For example, when I started The Woman by Kristen Hanna, once I started the book, I could not put it down. I had to finish the book. But with The Nightingale, I started it. I think I got maybe like 10 pages in, put it down for like a few days, and then I picked it back up again, and I think I ended up on chapter 8 or 10, and I haven't picked it up since. I think I just realized I'm not in the mood to read a historical fiction, and that is okay. I have a really hard time changing up my book once I start a book, and also DNFing books. I'm one of those people that if I kind of hit around the 40% mark, I'm just going to force myself to finish the book, which at the end of the day, why are we forcing ourselves to read books? Reading's supposed to be fun. This is like kind of just a personal example for me, although maybe someone else is going through it too. But I posted a video on my social media platforms asking people if I should read The Nightingale or ACOTAR, and basically had people debating in the comments on which book I should read, and it ended up becoming my most viewed video on TikTok. So I almost felt obligated to read The Nightingale because The Nightingale was the one that won. However, over time now, I actually think ACOTAR won, but I also felt like this need to read the book because I just came to the internet to ask them to choose a book for me, and I chose a book, and now I don't want to read this book. So I think there was also like a guilty feeling for me, but at the end of the day, I know I am a mood reader. I'm sure a lot of you are mood readers. So the short answer is don't feel bad about changing up your book. If you're not feeling the book in the moment, you're not saying that you're never going to read the book again, or maybe you aren't going to ever read the book again, and that's also okay. I feel like we put this pressure on ourselves to force ourselves to read these books. Read books that you want to read, and read books that you want to read in the moment, because there's nothing wrong with that. So I last night did start my Twilight reread. I started it really late last night, so I kind of actually wasn't really in the mood to read, so I don't know if this is going to stick. I'm either going to read this. I have a thriller book that I've been thinking about reading, and then I need to choose something for my Kindle. So tip number 2 kind of falls in the same category as tip number 1, but not only changing up your current book, but changing up the genre of your book, I think is really key. And also changing up, I guess you could put these, I don't know if I want to say like these are all 3 different facts or just kind of group it under one umbrella. Changing up the book, changing up the genre, and changing up even maybe the format of your book. Everyone will obviously have different situations. If you're into audiobooks, maybe find a really good audiobook that you like instead of reading a physical copybook or your e-reader. I think changing up the type of reading you're doing is good. And then, like I mentioned, changing up the genre of book. So I'm not really in the mood to read historical fiction, so I'm thinking of reading something that's not completely opposite, but something that's different. I feel like changing up the genre is a good idea because it helps you realize if the book you are currently reading is putting you in a reading slump because of the genre or not. I think changing up these 3 things are really good when you are in a reading slump because it kind of just gives you a refresh. Tip number 4, also I think all kind of falls under this one umbrella, so I guess this is actually just one giant tip, but I also think changing up the environment that you're reading in is also extremely key. I am typically a couch reader, sometimes a bed reader, so now that it's getting warmer where I live, I'm going to try to incorporate reading outside more. I'm also going to try incorporating different times I read at. I am typically an afternoon to evening to like late night reader, not usually a morning reader, but now I want to try to start my day with reading and see if that also impacts me a bit. But changing up your environment, I think, for not even just reading slumps, but for anything, is always a really good idea, and it helps you kind of just give yourself a refresh. And I find changing up your environment also just like inspires you in different ways. So changing up your book, changing up the genre, changing up the type of reading you're doing, and changing up your environment are 4 ways I think can get you out of reading slumps. And now I want to see how much I can read with incorporating these 4 tips into my life. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's video. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. I think it's actually going to be a little bit shorter than my normal videos, but that's okay. I feel like it's good to have like a mix of videos on my channel. I will hopefully, fingers crossed, see you this Sunday. Bye everyone.